Strings work perfectly in metal, they blend incredibly well with heavy guitars, and they can add a lot to your arrangements. Here are 5 tips for using strings in metal. Now, I won't be getting super specific with orchestration in this lesson. These tips are more of an overview of some of the ways you can use strings in metal. I do have lessons already on how to use synth and piano in metal, so you can check out those. I'll link them down below. And consider becoming a channel member if you want some more prog-related goodness. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. The first tip for using strings in metal is to play the melody or a counter melody. Higher strings, especially violins, are great for doubling a vocal or guitar melody, or even playing solo on a melody. Strings can also work well playing counter melodies that support that main melody. Here's the chorus from my latest single, On the Brink of Madness. Here the violin 1 and 2 are doubling the main guitar melody, and the lower strings are playing a counter melody underneath with the low horns. This is thickening the main melody and adding extra interest with the counter melody. Now, when I'm using strings in this style of music, I'm not exactly taking the symphonic approach of separating the strings into violin 1, 2, viola, cello, bass. I'm more using the strings as an entire section. Occasionally, I will split them out to a violin on their own or a cello on their own, for example, but since I'm blending strings with heavy guitars and bass and drums and keyboards, I can keep the strings more as one unit most of the time. Tip number 2 is to use strings to play thick chords like a pad. Strings have a naturally rich and beautiful sound, and using them to play chords over top of heavy rhythm instruments sounds great. In this section of On the Brink of Madness, I have a string pad playing these big chord voicings. Now, how you voice these chords is important. I always make sure they work well with the guitar chords that are underneath. So if the guitar is playing a really big chord underneath, I want to make sure the string chord on top is not clashing with that guitar chord. I'll also often double these string chords with various types of keyboards. I also typically put these voicings higher in register to keep them away from those heavy rhythm instruments. Tip number 3 is to use the strings to double fast lead parts. Of course, in prog metal, there's all kinds of fast, flashy sections, and these sound incredible doubled with strings. Strings, especially the violin, are capable of playing incredibly technical passages, so it makes sense to use them alongside shredding guitars and keyboards. Be aware this does give these lead parts a very classical, neoclassical, symphonic metal type of sound in most cases, so it's not something I'm going to use all the time, but it does thicken up these types of leads in a very nice way. Tip number 4 is to have the strings play fast arpeggios or scales as background figures. Think of a John Williams score. There's so many examples of the strings going absolutely nuts behind the main melodic ideas. This can work great in metal too. Check out this section from the last chorus of On the Brink of Madness. or these quick string stabs in the verse. If you want to give your melodic sections more motion and momentum, strings can be a great way to achieve this. The last tip is to use low strings to beef up your riffs or to provide rhythmic drive to a section. Strings can be beautiful, but they can also be super aggressive. I use some low strings to double parts of this final breakdown riff in On the Brink of Madness. Strings can also provide a strong rhythmic foundation, especially in sections where the drums aren't being played. Now, I don't have an exact example of this in my music where it's just strings, but this quiet chorus of On the Brink of Madness has the low strings playing along with the orchestral percussion. Hopefully some of these ideas were helpful for you. These 5 tips are really just scratching the surface on what you can do with strings in metal. If you'd like a video on specific arrangement approaches or some of the theory I use to put these ideas together, let me know. And if you enjoyed this lesson, subscribe, hit the bell notification, like, comment, share, all of that. And I will see you all in the next video. Till then, stay proggy.